got for you? Okay. Huh? To learn about the ecosystems. Yes. Anything else? No. Hey, this is the required course, right? So you guys are bio majors. Yeah? Hey? So we're going to learn a lot of stuff in ecology, so why it's so important to you. I'm going to turn on the light. I give you a sheet so you can see. Alright, so why do we need to study ecology? And then I think this will give you some kind of information here. If you look at the first page coming out of this picture, the handout is on this side. This is the letters in science. You guys know science, right? The top journal. So everybody wants to publish there. Unfortunately, most people cannot, including me. So the ecology letters, so in this journal, people are calling to add ecology to pre-med curriculum. We do, our university already does this because a lot of bio students, you guys taking this class because it's a required course for both BA and the BS. Why it's important? Looking at the second paragraph of there, who is going to volunteer read it to us? Anybody? Yes, please.
In their letter, competence, a cure for pre-med,
you can read starting with the second paragraph. While
a wide variety of species are medically important, both as cause and cure of a disease. Approximately 50% of the most prescribed medicines and 63 of 1,073 new small molecule drug approvals from the Food and Drug Administration between 1980 and 2010 are derived from natural products. Approximately 75% of newly emerging infectious disease in humans are predominantly from wildlife, and many illnesses are induced or exacerbated by environmental factors, including climate and pollution. Understanding the role of species interaction with each other, and with the
abiotic
environment will be crucial to future physicians as they diagnose disease and prescribe medication.
Alright, that's good. Thank you very much. Alright, you guys can see a lot of medicines from the natural products, right? If you study medicine in the future, probably you want to know it. And also, when you become a physician, you also need to know how the disease passing along, how it spread around. So those kind of information, we will get some kind of, a little bit in the class when we talk about how those diseases actually spread, okay, in this class too. So it is important for physicians to know, right? Or some physician assistant to know about ecology. And also, if you're looking at the other side, what does ecology have to do with me, okay, with you. As you can see here, I'm not going to read everything. You guys can read it afterwards. The role of ecology in our life can improve our environment, right? And non-native species, introduced species. Actually, today in today's lecture, I will give you one example, okay, one invasive species, how it spread and how it impacted the environment and then native species. And looking at this pollutions and natural resource management, endangered species protection, forestry solutions, agriculture solutions. So the ecology will help us to learn how the natural ecosystem works, okay? And then we can predict how it's going to respond to change, for example, climate change or to the fire, all those kind of natural disasters, so we can better manage them, okay? We can better manage them. And public health, so this one, again, relate to the medical stuff, so those different disease, how they spread around, how we can actually control it. So that's related to ecology as well. Okay, so this one, just one example. Now, who knows the 3 R's? You know the recycling, 3 R's? What are the 3 R's? Reuse, reduce, and recycle, right? Those 3 things. And then people add another one says R, 4R, so which is rethink. So how you're gonna think about how you're going to make less impact on the environment. Okay, so I would say, why do we study ecology? I'm going to talk about the 4 R's as well. Alright, so this one first is required. I think otherwise some of you will not be here. Right, so it's a required course. And I think the second one is relevant. It's relevant because it's relevant to you, it's related to your life, we just talked about, right? And the third is going to be refresh. What do I mean, refresh? Is that you guys, some of you guys are taking, what do you guys take this semester? Organic chemistry, you just did, right? Some of you just did N, A and P. Some of the other N and P, and statistics, and something else, and writings, right? So these are all some of those classes, especially N and P, a lot of memories, and then organic chemistry, there how you put those bonds together, how you put the chemical groups linked together. So it's kind of challenging, right? So this class, I would not say extremely challenging, but I would say, refresh your mind from those difficult things. Okay, think about different, looking at the nature. Although we only have a tiny window, it's actually shaded. We cannot see it, but we will have chance to look at the nature, right? In the lab, half of the lab kind of go to the field and then collecting samples, doing some analysis. The other R, it's ready for other career choices, right? Now, I know some of you want to be doctors, and then some of you will be, but most of you will not. Unfortunately, that is the truth, okay? I'm not going to try to dump cold water on you, but just telling you that you can learn ecology and then you have other options as well, okay? You're going to be maybe doing some study on environment and some ecological study, go to graduate school, forestry, all those kind of things, right? So these are the different things that you should study ecology, right? What we are going to do in this class, so here again talking about the many species, looking at all those prescribed drugs, medicines. These are just repeat what So what I would like you to do in this course, for today's course, one thing is looking at the course policy, make sure you get familiar with it, and define what is ecology, right? For everything you're gonna forget at the end of semester or beginning of 2021, I would like you still remember what is ecology, okay? I'm not going to test you, but I hope you will get that idea. What is ecology? What do you learn about? And then try to know different levels of ecological studies. So what do ecologists study? What kind of things they do? Get familiar with the case study of zebra mussels, so which I will give you example about. I am an ecologist. Okay, so my PhD study is involving with zebra mussels, looking at how invasive species impact the submerged aquatic vegetation, how they impact the food web at different levels. And also I do the water quality measurement, so did published some of the papers on invasive species and also water quality. Okay? So you're probably familiar with this graph, right? So this is the organization of biology, okay? Biological study, we remember your Bio 122, at the beginning you study what? Atoms, right? The hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. And then you're looking at the bonds, how they link together, become a molecule, right? So for example, water, H2O, you have two hydrogen and one oxygen linked together. And then you're going to move up to looking at the big molecules, those are macromolecules, right? Carbohydrates, what are those? Huh? Proteins, yes, and lipids, and what is it? Proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids, right? So those nucleic acids, so macromolecules, how they're going to put together, and then we're looking at the organelles, right? Molecules together become organelles. Give me some example organelles. Mitochondrial, yes. Golgi apparatus. ERs, roughness and ERs, right? Chloroplast. Alright, so all those kind of organelles, and then you're going to move up, looking at the cells, right? In Bio 123, right? You guys learned organs, organ system, what is the digest system, what is the spleen, all those kind of things. And then you guys move up here today in this class, right? So we are going to study on this level, on this side, okay? Looking at how the individuals is impacted by the environment, how they impact the environment, and then how the individuals actually impact with each other, have interactions with each other, and then population level, looking at the different individuals within a specific species, right? So, what is population?
A collection of one species.
A collection of one species, good. So, yes?
I mean, but like in a specific area.
In a specific area, or at a specific time, right? So if you want to add those things, but if you in general say, hey, it's a collection of individuals of the same species, that's the most important thing, okay? And just try to remember, in our exams, in our quiz, you will have to explain the terms. Excuse me. Normally, I will give you, extra 2 or 3 terms, and then you will give you, for example, 5. You choose 3 of the terms, and then define those terms. Okay, so there's a couple of questions of that. So you will use your own explanation to explain the terms. You don't have to strictly memorize what the note says. So your explanation say collective species collective individuals of the species, of the same species, that would be fine. So individuals of, a group of individuals of the same species, okay, living in a specific area at a specific time, so that's the population. What is community?
Different groups, different populations that live in the same area and how they interact with each other.
Alright, so different species or different populations living together, right, at the same place, the specific regions, okay? So that's a different population. So you will have the interactions among them. So what kind of interactions can be between different populations? Yes.
Predator and prey.
Predator prey, yes.
Yeah, like a mutualistic, pretty
Yeah.
much they
Good.
support each other.
Mutualistic relationship, so they're going to benefit each other. Symbiotic relationship, right? Can you give an example?
Symbiotic would be like a bird using a certain type of tree to support its nests and eggs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the birds will get the food nest, and the trees will get what?
I guess it's not a good example.
Well, don't worry, we're going to talk more about that one, okay, later on. And then in the lab, you're going to have one specific example about the corals, right, and algae, the green algae. And also in our class, in our lecture, we're going to talk about many examples. So, and that. Then we move up another level, ecosystem. So what is the ecosystem?
A collection of species and not living and non-living species working together.
Okay, so ecosystem basically is the environment plus the communities, right? So all different populations in the same area, they interact with the physical environment, right? So the oxygen, the soil, right? The water, so those are all different kind of things. They interact with each other. For example, if you look at the lake, the forest, okay, the pond, those are ecosystems. And an ecosystem can be small too, right? Small, if you just grab a pile of dirt in your hand, that is an ecosystem. Why?
Everyone's living.
Why do I say the pile of dirt on my hand is an ecosystem?
Chain.
Yes?
I would say bacteria.
Bacteria, all those kind of things are the what? The communities, and include
It's like abiotic features and like
yes, so they have biotic features like the bacteria, biomes, right? And
abiotic.
abiotic, for example, what are the abiotic
Like
factors?
rocks.
Huh?
Rocks.
Rocks and dirt, right? And maybe some water in it, right? Some air in it. So those are all, abiotic things. Alright, so the higher up is the biosphere, which means the whole ecosystems on Earth, right? So that's the big scale research, if you want to look at it. From here, okay, from individuals to biosphere, these are the levels going to be covered in this course, right? In this course, as a subject of the ecology study. Of course, when you have specialties, you do not study from those small things to all the big things. You probably study some of them, but ecology is studying those things. Questions? I want you guys to know the terms, okay? Biosphere, ecosystem, communities, and population. Make sure you can differentiate from them. Okay, differentiate from them. I will give you an example, test you. So I'm going to say, what is this level if I study oak trees on campus? Think about it. Discuss with your neighbor to see you guys say the same name, same level. Yeah, discuss with your neighbors to see you guys agree with each other. If you don't agree, try to persuade them.
Probably ecosystem, right? Well, isn't like a whole oak tree its own ecosystem?
I don't think so. It's like or just like that one species.
I got you.
Population.
Alright, now, how many of you think is the populations? Put up your hand. Populations. Okay, good. Majority. Communities. Nobody? Ecosystems. Nobody? Oh, who did not put up your hand? What do you think? Alright. Put up your hand again. Who think it's populations? Oh, okay. So a couple of you. Okay. V. What do you think? Because I saw you did not put up your hand.
I did, but
Huh?
I did say population, but it could be communities because there's multiple different types of species of oak trees, possibly.
Possibly, yeah. What is your, I can't remember your name, sitting next to Dante, I think it's Nave?
Yeah, it's a population.
You said population? I didn't see your hand. Make sure next time just can see you. Alright. Okay, so most of you say it's a population, okay? It's a population. Again, we just explained there are possible different species in oak trees. Do you agree? So I'm gonna ask again. How many of you think it's a populations? How many of you think of the communities? Okay, it's a test, right? So you have to make choice. Final. Alright, how many think it's the communities? I will think that way. Okay, how many think it's populations?
I'll take it. I think.
That's good. I know you guys confused about population community. As long as you know, if you think there's only one specific oak trees on campus, that is population. Okay? So if there are multiple different species of oak tree, usually they do, right? There will be communities, and there will be communities. Yes.
So what would you say is the correct answer to your question?
Either way.
Okay.
Yeah, if you think it's one particular species, right? Sometimes you will not get a definite answer, okay? As long as you know what is the process, what's the reasoning behind it, that will be good. So I want you guys to learn the process and about if you think this is only one tree, you choose population, that is correct. But if I say I'm going to study oak trees and maple trees on campus, that will be Okay, so if I say I study plants and animals in the garden,
Communities.
that would be communities, right? If I study the garden with plants and animals, that would be
Ecosystem.
system. Alright, next we're going to move on to talk about what is ecology, right? So these are the general information you just need to know. Yes,
Wait, can you just take a step back really quick?
yes.
So you said that a garden, you said it would be a community.
I said plants and animals in the garden. Yes.
Okay.
So if I study plants and animals, that's different populations, right? So plants, they're different plants, animals, they're different animals, plants, animals, they are all different populations. So that's study those populations. So it's look at the community level. So the community is looking at a different populations. And the population is looking at one single species. All right. Now ecology. So this is developed by the German biologist Ernest Haeckel in 1866. Of course, you don't have to remember his name and the year, but I just like to know ecology. We still have the journal of this one using this. Okay. Then it says household study. A study of the household of nature, so just study of the nature. And ecology is the comprehensive science of the relationship of organism to the environment. So that's his definition. Right? Ecology is a comprehensive science of the relationship of the organisms to the environment. So it's talk about relationship. Okay? It's studying the relationship. So what kind of relationship between that species, the population to the environment? How they interact with abiotic environment and interact with other populations. Right? So that's the relationship. So ecology, you will hear the terms interactions, relationship a lot in this class because that's the ecology about. Okay? So we study different interactions, we study different relationships. Here are a couple of people that's important in ecological field. Charles Elton, a British biologist or zoologist. He studied animals, right? So he developed those like animal ecology, ecology of invasions of animal plants, so they're kind of invasive species. And then there's Eugene Odom, okay, at Georgia Tech. So looking at the fundamentals of ecology, this is actually the first textbook that study the ecosystem, but mostly studies ecosystem. Why I did not choose this textbook? Because that's more focused on ecosystem studies, but we are looking at ecology, looking at a broad span, looking at the individual molecular levels to the biosphere levels. I'm going to introduce you the case of invasive species so that you know what kind of ecology is about, what do people study. How many of you heard about invasive species? Okay, how many of you heard about zebra mussels? Some of you, okay. Where are you from?
I'm from Connecticut originally.
Connecticut.
I just know that they're infested in like the Great Lakes, all the pipes there.
Yes,
they
they're
come
in
out
the
like-
Great Lakes and also in upstate of the Connecticut, northwestern part of the Connecticut as well. So they come in as well. Alright, so invasive species. What is invasive species? Yes?
It's a species in like a population, well, I guess like, or just a community that doesn't really have a predator, so it's kind of just like eating everything and there's nothing stopping it from growing.
So it's a species come to this area because of lack of the predators, so they can spread around, right? Get infested. I saw your hands.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, it sort of like takes over a healthier plant, sort of eating it completely. Cause I'm comparing it to like, there's certain vines that can take over a complete tree and,
Okay, so that means that they have huge impact on that invaded areas, right? And also I saw your hand, you want some
Yeah, I
added?
was just gonna say, there are non-native species that infiltrate into a different community or ecosystem.
Alright, good, good. So combine all those three answers, you will get the full picture, full definition of the invasive species, right? So invasive species has to include the two important parts. First, it has to be non-native, right? So it's introduced species from other places. It's not originally here. So it's non-native. It's invading to this area. Second part, it has to have negative impacts on the environment, right? Negative impacts on the environment. So an introduced species, they're either intentionally or accidentally into this area that did not previously originate or live there, that harms or is likely to harm the ecosystem, economy, and the human. So first, it says non-native. Second part says it does harm, right? The species does harm to this new environment. So that's invasive species. So zebra mussels, these are the small little mussels, like very tiny. I think it's like your thumbnail, like that size or a little bit bigger. Okay, so these are the nail. They are filter feeding species. What does that mean? Is that they open their shelves, right? So they absorb the water, filter the water, eat everything in the water column, and then they have feces that dump it back to the water column. So this is how they actually work, right? And you can see on the Great Lakes, this is the bottom of the lake is infested by this species, okay? All those clusters, they are mussels, or zebra mussels. If you use bare foot, it can cut your foot, okay? You get bleeding on those things. So definitely it's not good for you to swim in those areas or enjoy the beach. When they are dead, those shells are gonna pile up along the beaches. You cannot enjoy, right? Over there too. And here show you the origin of that species we find out in 1988, right? 1988, that in Lake St. Clair, in the Great Lakes regions, right? A geography test. Can anyone name those 5 lakes? This is Lake
Erie.
Lake George. Lake George is the one where this is the Finger Lake. Lake George maybe somewhere here. I probably cannot see it, right? So this is Lake Ontario, okay? That's the Canada on the side, Toronto up there. And this is
Lake Erie.
Lake Erie, yes. Lake Champlain is upstate New York. It's not a part of the lakes. It's somewhere here, okay, in upstate New York. This is Michigan, right? And this is the Lake Superior. So this one is Lake Huron. Huh? Erie is this one. Huron. Alright, doesn't matter if you don't remember. Then the next thing you will see here, it's spread. This is showing you each year, right? So each year they're spreading and spreading and spreading, and that you can see in 2005, the half of the United States has the mussels, right? Has the mussels in the waterways. So it has a huge, it's very fast spreading rate, okay? So that's why we say they're invasive, because they do spread very fast in all those different states. This one show you in 2012, looking at the species. If you look at the zebra mussels, the red dots, and you can see there are a lot of places, even in the southern part and then in those western part of the U.S. as well. Right? This one show looking at the 2012. There's different species in those of Mexico over there. So how do those species come in? How do they come in? And then there are different pathways, right? So if you look at this, looking at the Great Lakes. There are about 180 species. Okay, 180 species in the Great Lakes regions, the non-native species. Here different vectors. The ballast water is the number one reason, okay, or the vector. So what is the ballast water?
It's like what comes off of like tugs or like pretty much container ships. They'd fill up the bottom of their vessel with water to keep them from tipping over, and then when they come up into one of the Great Lakes, they'd release this water just so they can start unloading their gear. And inside this water would be like the zooids of like the mussels.
Mm-hmm. So the water, they have to absorb some water in the ship, so balance the ship at the bottom, right? So keep the heavy weight of the bottom. So when they go to a harbor, they gonna absorb some water there, and then they go to a destination. They release the water so they can actually take off those cargoes and stuff. So this is the number one reasons, okay? So you can see here how they actually release a lot of organisms, non-native organisms in that new area. The range of expansion, why do I highlight this, is that when you're looking at all those reasons, okay, pathways, they might be human related, okay? Except that the range expansion, maybe some part of it is like naturally, the animal itself. For example, they spread the seeds, or the birds just fly away. So those kind of things, maybe it's by itself, but mostly is human related. So we are responsible for introducing all those different kind of species, right? Because of the globalizations, you know, you have the shipments, the cargoes, the trade, all those, like in Connecticut, New York, these regions, we have infested some of the beetles, right? So how did they get it? They get it from those shipping box. You know, they have the larvae in those shipping box, and then you throw it away. They can actually hatch, the spread out in the nature. So they kind of infested those species, the tree species. Looking at this one, commercial ship in 14 months activities, right? So you're looking at they're going, this is one particular ship, right? So they're going to everywhere, looking at all different kind of continents, right? So they go everywhere, they go those ships. And it's not straight line, okay? They're not going over here, but they just kind of cross or something, you couldn't draw a line there. So you can see there, the business is busy, and then they have all those kind of connections that can cause those introductions in the different places. Right? Here I show you some pictures of the mussels. They are collecting those water pipes, and then they are attached on those equipment. They can actually damage different things. Here they can attach everything that is a hard substrate, right? So they can attach there and spread around. And here I show you they attach on the native species, right? Native mussels. So it's so heavy, so they will not be able to open their shell to eat. What's going to happen next? Yeah, they starve to death, so they cannot survive, right? You can see this crayfish, right, have all those muscles, they cannot climb anymore. And they also impact some plants as well. As you can see, they attach on them and weighing them down, so they cannot reach the top to get the sunlight they need. This one just show you some data, right? Looking at one of my research data showing that the water quality in the lake that is impacted by the zebra mussel. After zebra mussel invasion in 1992, as you can see, the water quality, the chlorophyll A, which means the algae content, right? The algae content decreased, right? Before those years. Of course, it has dynamics. There's different changes every year. And also the Secchi depth is a measurement of water clarity. You will see that, I will show you that in the lab, so you can see what is Secchi depth measurement. That you can increase, okay, after the invasion of mussels. So basically they clear the algae because they eat them, right? And then the water is clear. And if you're looking at the data, that's the disk it measured. If you look at the data, the chlorophyll A decreased, and then the Secchi depths increased. Okay, all those done by statistics, that is increased, okay, significantly different. Either decrease significantly or increase significantly. How do you think your statistics skills in this right now? Good? Not so good? Alright. So I know some of you are taking biostatistics this semester as well, right? So I'm actually want to know what your previous knowledge of statistics is. So I'm going to have a survey which I want you guys complete within next 17 minutes. Once you finish, you can leave, okay? So just try your best. I'm sure you won't be able to answer all the questions. So I just want you guys feel it, read it, and then answer all the questions as honestly as you can, right?